Hey everyone, long day. Sorry, I'll try and keep it short, but thanks for sticking it out. A quick appeal before I jump into my content. Even if you get to talk to all of these fine folks that just presented and let them know your feature requests and things like that, please do take them to the community. So that's how every time you say, I want this feature, I need it for this use case, we take that and we pass it along to the team that's relevant. And many of the engineers you saw up here actually monitor the community on a daily basis. And they may not be posting the answers, but they're looking at your feedback and seeing what's important to you as the primary consumers of the features they develop. So with that, I'd like to flip over and talk about the EMM community, where we want to take it in 2017, some of the things we think are really important in the community for you guys. But let's take a step back and look at what the goal of the community really is to start, right? Help you as an EMM provide an exceptional Android experience to your users, to IT admins, right? And that could be zero-touch experience with some of the stuff Tom talked about earlier, where a user lights up a device in 30, 45 seconds, right? That's an IT admin being able to provision devices, provision applications in record speed, and manipulate APIs and controls that they didn't know were possible on these devices previously. We want to make Android the best platform, the platform of choice for device management, and you're how we can do this as a community, right? It's up to you guys because you're the ones providing that capability. So we're going to talk about 2 ways in 2017 that we're really looking to empower you and make Android the premier platform of choice for management. The first one is some changes we want to make to solution validation. So hopefully for folks that have gone through that process, I've perked up your attention. We are going to introduce some interesting changes, and we think they're all going to be good and you're going to love them, hopefully. And the second thing is customer consults, which is kind of a greenfield opportunity for us and some stuff that we traditionally haven't done very good in the community and haven't really been there to assist. So let's start with solution validation. To me, solution validation is the cornerstone of what we do in the community, right? It's what the community is built on. We provide effectively success criteria built into our requirements, what it means to support work profile, work managed device. We define these requirements, we set them out, we have you guys develop to them within 6 months and come back to us and show us that you've actually built a solution that's tailored to the needs of your customers. Why do we do this? There's really 2 key reasons. First, consistent quality, right? In the same way that every one of you in here expects an API on a Samsung device to work the same as it does on a Motorola device, in a lot of cases, your customers are expecting a given feature that they understand to work on one EMM similarly in the other, right? Now, there's a distinction there, though. There needs to be an opportunity to differentiate, just like we have with OEMs, right? So that balance of consistency and quality and differentiation is something that we take very seriously when we build our requirements. And I'm going to show you how we're going to expand the opportunities for differentiation in our new requirements. The second component is transparency. Right? So when a customer is evaluating an EMM solution or wants to know what's possible on Android, we can point to a very specific set of features. We can understand which EMM supports what, which EMM is best for the use case that they have, and they can find a vendor that meets their needs. But transparency is only possible when we have consistency. So you can see how these 2 pillars are really interconnected and important for us. So we have 2 enhancements to solution validation that we want to make in 2017. To improve upon what we established in 2016. First off, an update cadence. And this is more just kind of administrative upkeep and some things that we want to do to make your lives a little bit easier. The second one is feature sets, and that's something really exciting that gives you guys new opportunities to differentiate. So let's start with the cadence. The bottom line here is, I know we sprung a big requirements update on you in October, and needless to say, I can feel your pain, right? We know that it requires you to make changes within 6 months and come back and revalidate. So we want to add an element of predictability to this process. We're going to have an annual major requirements update, and you can expect that cadence to land around the developer preview time for every new dessert release. In fact, we're going to straddle the dessert release, so you'll get the release of developer preview, the very first time you get to play with the new features that you heard so much about today. About 3 months later, you'll get the requirements that are the major requirement changes for that year. Sometime later, the dessert release will land on devices, and then a few months after that, about 3 months after that, you'll be expected to be compatible with a subset of those features, right? We're not going to include every new feature in an Android release in the requirements update, but something you'll probably hear tomorrow and throughout this is, ecosystem, whether it's security updates or dessert releases, we're really looking to bring new features to customers as quickly as possible, and we in the EMM community have a part to play there, right? So again, just to recap, major update, that's going to be mostly framework features in the new dessert release and major play features. So for instance, managed play accounts would absolutely be something that would be in that major update. And then 6 months following, we'll publish a minor update. And this is basically improvements to guidance based on feedback we have from the field, changes that are important to smaller play features that have shipped out of band and not related to the release cadence of Android. The next thing I want to talk about is feature sets. So solution sets, we thought, did a pretty good job of describing the use cases, right? We've divided the sum total of all the APIs that you have at your disposal into 4 major solution sets. And we offer validation opportunities across those 4 dimensions, right? But it doesn't really do a lot to describe the full breadth of capabilities on Android for enterprise management. What we want to do is categorize everything we've done in the last 3+ years as an enterprise team, define those into discrete feature areas, bundle them with requirements in the same way that we've done with solution sets, and give you guys opportunities to build to those best practices and come back to us and demonstrate that you have, get validated, and so we can demonstrate that to your future customers, right? The idea here is to expand upon the solution set model, but this time add the breadth of Android's capabilities and give you an opportunity to differentiate. Right now, we have a nice number of EMMs that support one solution set versus another, but when you take that to a customer and you say, I support work profile, there may be a handful of other EMMs that also support work profile, right? And have gone through the same validation process as you. So with feature sets, you'll actually be able to point to specific feature capabilities that are important to your customers, things where you've adopted those best practices that Google publishes, and actually bring that value back to your customers in the same way that you would have done with solution sets. So how is this going to work? Well, all of our existing requirements are going to be bundled into what we call mandatory feature sets, right? So right now it's kind of a jumbled list of 1.1.1.a. It's a terrible mess to try and read. I apologize. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn that into meaningful, discrete, mandatory feature sets that are parsable by customers and hopefully parsable by you guys too, right? So that you know what's important in work profile. You know what's required. Then on the same standing, there's going to be optional feature sets. So things like cross-profile data management, right? And that will consist of several APIs. You'll have cross-profile sharing. You'll have cross-profile Bluetooth connection, blah, 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 right? You'll have features that are meaningful to customers, that are combinations of APIs and best practices that you can actually sell, not just discrete APIs that we talk about at conferences like these and encourage you to build. So this combination of mandatory plus optional, we think will give a much better depiction of what's possible with your customers, right? And will increase the transparency that customers have in understanding what you as an EMM support within Android, as well as what's possible in Android. And that's really important. A last note, in case you're curious or concerned, your existing validations will carry over into this new model, right? So when we make this change, the existing validations that you have will transfer over as the mandatory feature sets, right? So if you've approved work profile, you will still be approved to work profile, and we will indicate that you've completed the mandatory feature sets for work profile. But once we release those, you'll have a whole bunch of optional validations you can go through to further differentiate your product and add enhanced management capabilities that really make Android shine. A quick note before I move on. I know like I said, solution validation is probably, hopefully it's as dear to your hearts as it is to mine. So if you have any questions or concerns whatsoever, we'll be floating around. Myself, Kevin, Eugene, EMM team will be floating around after this to answer all your questions and make sure that we're providing the right service for you guys, okay? All right, so that's the changes to solution validation. Like I said, the cornerstone of what we've done with the community to date. I want to talk a little bit about something that's really new for us, but we think is really important to kind of take the community to the next level. And that's something we're calling customer consults. So you may have remembered that there's a term that was floating around the community, like life after product review. What do you actually do once you've got this solution set approved, right? And currently today, it's you go off, presumably launch your product and sell it, and then maybe come back and ask us questions in the forum, maybe not. We don't really know. But inevitably, especially when you're introducing new technologies to existing customers, you're going to run into problems, right? Customers are going to have these gnarly technical issues where their legacy infrastructures don't match with work profile in the way that it did with your, whether it's a previous device admin deployment, a previous device type, what have you. In those cases where there's really tough technical issues, deployment problems that are blocking opportunities, right? We want to be there to help. We want to empower your field teams with the best of what Android could offer and make you successful at those Android opportunities, right? David came up and showed the pie chart that showed the iOS percentage versus Android and other platforms in the managed space. We know there's managed Android opportunities out there. We know customers are asking, and we want to be here to help to make sure that you're successful when you go into those opportunities. So regardless of the issue, right, whether it's legacy infrastructure, whether it's work profiles just aren't doing the things they should be, I have use cases based on previous conceptions about what Android can do and can't do. We have subject matter experts here at Google who are here to help. And so we're going to offer an opportunity for you to engage and pull us in as appropriate. Think of this as technical, highly transactional, time-boxed engagements, right? You pull us in, we define the success criteria right up front, right? We need to unblock this customer and by figuring out the solution to this specific problem. We're going to figure out how long that's going to take. We're going to make a recommendation, and then we're going to get out of your way. Because at the end of the day, you're best empowered to serve your customers, and we're not here to introduce process or anything like that, right? We just want to make sure that you're the most successful you can be with your customers. And every time we do one of these consults, it's an opportunity for knowledge transfer, right? Rather than, slightly better than sitting around and watching decks all day, hopefully, when we get to sit down with a customer success manager or an SE who's working with one of your customers in the field, we'll be able to exchange knowledge. They'll learn a little bit more about work profiles, work managed device, what have you. And we'll learn as well. We'll learn a little bit more about what's important to your customers, right? And we'll complete that feedback loop and take those lessons back into our solution sets and our feature sets, right? Not only in the way like speaking to our colleagues in product and engineering, but really crafting the guidance and best practices and making sure that we're defining the things that your customers want, right? So that's the customer concept model in a nutshell. It's going to be driven through the community. We don't have everything in place yet, so it's not available today. But it will be separate from the technical forum. So we'll keep the forum in place for integration questions and building to your solution and feature sets. And we'll have a separate escalation channel within the community for not only yourselves, but your field team counterparts to be able to reach out. And as we continue to grow as a community into 2017, as EMMs differentiate, whether it's on different features that we support or growing adoption in new and exciting ways, we're going to introduce opportunities to more closely engage with the customer consult model, right? So some folks will be invited to have direct escalation channels that don't necessarily go through the community, and that'll be based on, as we, again, evolve as a community, identifying those opportunities that make sense for us. So those are the two exciting things that we're really, really hoping that you guys take advantage of in 2017. And in order to make sure that we have a successful year, we think we need to launch them quick. So we want to get all of this functionality and all this goodness to you guys within Q1 so that you have the rest of the year to build exciting new features, get validations, position yourself in the market with the features that are important to you and your customers, and then take those to customers and let us help you get through those and sell them. So that's all I got. We do have 5 minutes, or we can cut straight to beer, and you can come find me and our team afterwards. But thank you. Oh, Andy, oh, no, I don't need questions, unless anybody has questions.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions, particularly EMM community questions? We will have a panel at the end of the day tomorrow for kind of general questions for across the sessions, but while Ian's here, if there are any questions about the community, requirements, whatnot, happy to take one or two right now.
Yeah. The question was how to join the community. So if you're here and you're not an EMM, we would love to have you. We have a interest form that you can fill out. You give us a few details, and then we'll send you effectively an NDA and a contract. And that gives you access to the services, including the Play EMM API, as well as our community. But I will mention the community is under NDA, and it is currently restricted to EMMs. It is not for other vendor types today. It's designed to be a community of peers to figure out the best way to support Android management.
Great.
I'll send you a link.
Any other questions?
Yes? Great question. So the question was, what happens if the requirements are adjusted before the due validation date? So for the previous requirements update, April 9th is the deadline. I guess this is a great opportunity to plug that. April 9th is the integration deadline, so please submit for product review in anticipation of that, or else we'll be handling all of your requests in the same week. It's probably inevitable. If we update the, first off, we're not planning to make any substantive changes to the requirements before April 8th, given the 9th, excuse me, given the churn that was introduced with adding managed play accounts. But if we were to introduce changes, those would be staggered out another 6 months. So the agreement is 6 months from the introduction of the changes. Yep. Great. All right. Thanks, guys.